Greetings, my movie Ghouls! Welcome back to our Halloween countdown, 31 days of horror, which isn't 31 days this year, because I forgot. You know what I love? I love a good alien abduction story. You know what else I love? A film that tries to do something completely out of the box. And this film delivers that. Tonight, we watched No One Will Save You. No One Will Save You is directed by Brian Duffield and stars Kaitlyn Dever as Brynn, a young woman who is isolated away from her community and living what seems to be an idyllic life. She spends the days alone at home, making model houses, cooking, dancing, but one night she has a visit from what appears to be a creature from out of this world. So that's the alien abduction side sorted, but what does this film do that's new? At this point, I don't think it's a spoiler, but this film attempts to have no dialogue throughout, and for the most part, it works. We're shown a day in the life of Brynn, and we are told that the daily routine scarcely deviates from that routine. We see how she lives and how she knows the layout of her house. The creative decision to only have one line of dialogue is effective because the filmmakers have given themselves a task of utilising sound to propel the story forward. This film is a sound film. The use of diegetic sound to build the tension is excellent here, and probably the best part of the film. Watching it in the dark really raises the tension. Floorboards squeak, old rotary phones dial tones hum, and they are all excellently used when the abduction first begins. And all these sounds are used to put the audience on the edge of their seat. I was. Being shown how Brynn knows the house in the first act, we see how she utilises it to evade her captors, little nooks and crannies. She fights back and is successful, even though it always feels like she's being toyed with. Brynn knows what she's doing and plays it with cleverness, to the point that she doesn't come across as the usual horror movie protagonist. You want her to win, you're meant to root for her until you discover why she's reclusive. But no matter how strong the horror moments are, sadly, they are undercut by the length of the scenes. The tension builds up, but the scene continues, which makes the tension abate. The film opens very, very strongly, but isn't able to keep it going. Where the first act is superb at building the tension, based on the sounds and lack of dialogue, and almost seeing aliens in the shadows, it then forced it to drag on, unsuccessfully keeping that tension going. If the film was able to cut some of the chase sequences out and the capture scenes down, it would have had a chance of being something that lasts. But as such, it doesn't, and these overly long scenes of her running away, evading capture, it just feels wrong. We get the initial abduction attempt, then we get her escaping completely from her home to the safety of the town. I say safety. She is an outcast, but this as well isn't explained until a lot later into the film. And it's here where the lack of dialogue kind of falls down. We're led on a chase that nullifies everything we've been watching. We begin to not care about her as much as we did at the beginning when she was being abducted. And then the attempts go on. It's a constant cat and mouse chase. What the film lacks is in answering its own questions, like leaving the why about her alienation from the village or the town until near the end. The unresolved trauma and her own redemption are barely mentioned as the plot goes from eliciting scares to forcing chases and silly shocks. It's not a bad film by any stretch of the imagination, but it derails fairly quickly. Another thing that bothered me was that the lack of dialogue, although it's a clever idea, and works extremely well earlier in the film, there are moments and scenes that just don't work. There would be no reason why she cannot speak, why she doesn't speak, where she doesn't even try to speak when everyone else would. The crazy thing is, the scene in the police station actually works. I think that is a scene that works, but it's just the other smaller scenes where she grunts, and you can feel like the grunts and the little noises she's making are there to cover the dialogue. The strongest point of the film is Dever giving an entirely physical performance without the dialogue to tell us how she is feeling. She gives a performance that is solely physical, from large movements to the smallest twitches. It works extremely well, if not all the time, but most of the time. The repetitive alien abduction sequences let the film down, but I wouldn't tell anyone not to watch it. It is an enjoyable evening spooky movie. I believe if the film had maybe worked harder at getting to the whys instead of repeating the chase and the abduction sequences, it would have scored much higher. No One Will Save You is a solid 2 to 3 out of 5 movie. I'm staying in between there. I don't like giving halves, but I think where it lacks, it drops from a 3 to a 2, but the beginning is a definite 3. If you enjoyed the movie, let me know in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this review, why not like, share, subscribe, and ring that bell to be notified every time I upload a video. And I'm sorry that I haven't been able to do my 31 Days of Horror this year. It's, I just haven't been able to do it. It's very difficult. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time for another spooky movie. Sleep tight.